Well, good afternoon.
Hi, Yvonne. How are you?
Well, you already know how I am because I told you I'm tired.
Oh, that's for the benefit of the rest of the people.
Absolutely. I think we need to call it the reality show. It's like we'll just show up and just tell you exactly where we are in any given moment. And today I'm feeling tired. However, I am committed to the work that we do, and we are here. And we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence today.
Oh yeah, and I completely today. Yeah, it's one of those days. I think we're both in the same wavelength when it comes to tiredness and not really being 100%. But it's okay to have days like this, I suppose.
That's called being human,
And
right?
we are human, aren't we? Yes, that's it. That's it.
That's
Even
called being
though,
human. Yes. Yeah, and I like to own that. I like to own that because even as somebody who does self-care and get your rest, and I did rest, but I didn't have a long enough rest, and that was just my a little bit of over brain thinking early in the morning.
Mhm.
And just being able to acknowledge that, and I like to share that because it's like, yeah, there is not this perfect routine that when you're doing something everything goes smoothly and everything happens the way you want it to. No. More often than not, yes. However, there are days like today where it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm showing up. Trust me, I will be having a power nap after. Because I do believe in replenishing self. Oh yes, 100%.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do the same actually. Let's- we need to listen to our bodies, don't we? I mean, we can't
Absolutely.
just say that for everybody else and not listen to our bodies ourselves.
100%.
It is important, and
Yeah.
I think like talking about emotional intelligence. It's not just about how we show up for others and what that means, but also how we show up for ourselves. And I
Yes.
think that helps us show up better for others too, in a way.
Yes. Definitely. I mean, emotional intelligence is such and I want to say a big topic. It's a big topic because there are so many competencies within it. And I
Mhm.
used to, this is a topic that I used to do quite a lot of training on in corporate. And it was always really interesting because, of course, emotional intelligence, then everyone says, oh, they're just soft skills. And the minute you say soft skills, it's just like, well, they're not really necessary. They're just soft. I'm like, they're life skills. Forget the soft. They are life skills. If you want to understand how to navigate life well and in a good state and deliver your best, then these are life skills that you absolutely need to have. But what I found really eye-opening looking at emotional intelligence through the positive intelligence lens is that maybe it's a little bit less about having to develop a skill and more about removing the interference, which are the narratives and the patterns and the stories that block us from doing so many things, right? And that kind of came up for me. I was like thinking, actually, this is why I love positive intelligence, because if you look at emotional intelligence, I think there are like 18 competencies in total. That's a lot of things to get skilled at. If you were like, oh my gosh, I've got to have my self-awareness, I've got to have the team thing, I've got to have, you've got all these different components that it's the framework is saying you need to be skilled at. And actually, with positive intelligence, it's almost saying, of course, these are all important. It's going to be a lot easier for you to access them and get skilled at them if you remove the things that are stopping you in the first place.
It's quite good actually, because this by itself, it sort of removes the complexity. And when we hear big numbers, we have the tendency of like, oh, no, that's not for me, or what's all that about and
Yeah.
stuff. But when you just learn to live in ease and flow, I don't think you need to worry about positive intelligence. I mean, about about what are we talking about? Come on, I'm like,
Emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. The competencies.
yes, yes, yes. No. All right. So, emotional intelligence. Going back, we just be there because you are working within ease and flow, and you don't necessarily need to like name everything that comprises emotional intelligence at the end of the day, because you are doing it subconsciously, or you are showing up in the right way for yourself and for others. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
It is. I find it quite fascinating, and I think that we said. I think on the post that we said we would kind of look at, the left brain, the logic versus the kind of intuitive thinking, and emotional intelligence is all about the non-analytical powers of the mind. It's the non-analytical stuff, which is also sometimes why people struggle with it. It's like, well, if it's not logical, if it's not this, what am I supposed to do with that? But this is about the intuition, and you have it. It's not like you don't have to go get it. It's there. It's being able to access it, and that's why I also think that this whole kind of perspective of removing the things that are in the way helps you to access it with greater ease, which means you don't have to work so hard at developing the skill because you're creating the space to access it. And that for me that for me personally, that was like a big wow. Okay, so we talk about self-awareness and the importance of self-management, and all of the components of that. We talk about social awareness, all of the components of that, relationship management, and so all of these things are parts of emotional intelligence, and within each of them there are other. It's broken down further.
Categories, yeah.
And of course we want to access those things because they do help us. They help us to better understand ourselves. They help us to better show up in the world. They help us to build more fruitful and meaningful relationships in work and outside of work. And all of that is crucial to the way we live life and what we get from living our lives. So I guess for me, it's a little bit of looking at that, the kind of left brain, right brain, and I use those terms, and I always feel like someone's going to jump in because I've had so many sort of, when I've seen things about there's no left brain, right brain, there is no da da da. This is the way that we speak, and this is how we access those
Yeah.
parts. You have the logic, you have that part of the brain that does all the analyzing, and if it's not logical, it just doesn't want to know. And that is where the saboteurs have a field day, because for them, if it's not making sense in the way that they want it to, what is it even doing in your brain? Let's get rid of that, right? Whereas the intuitive side, that right side, is looking for the possibilities and the opportunities. It's much more. This is where like all the sage powers are in their flow. This is where we become more curious and we want to explore the expansion, the activate, get into action. This is all happening over that side of in that part of the brain. And again, because positive intelligence uses that, and this for me is like the fundamental parts of breaking, if you like, bad habits, be they thoughts, be they behaviors, is understanding the patterns in the first place that are making those things happen. And once you're aware of the patterns, then doing the work to break them, which is all the things, like the PQ reps, all the things that we teach and we do ourselves. And in breaking the patterns, you are then in a position to start developing those neural pathways that lead to better behaviors as you start to actually activate better ways of thinking, better ways of being. And it kind of sounds, it's almost like, it sounds like it's simplifying it, but actually it's just understanding that when you're learning the skills, the components or the competencies of emotional intelligence, you're kind of getting lots of information, lots of insights, but you have to go away then and apply it. And that's a lot to go away and try and apply in some shape or form, especially if you've already got a part of your brain that's saying, no, don't like that. No, it's not logical. No, it doesn't make sense to me. If you're fighting that, that's the bit that needs to be worked on, right? And this is what we do in positive intelligence. We work on that circuitry.
Absolutely. I mean, it does make, in the sense that, it's not logical, it does make quite a lot of sense, though, once you start working with it. Yes. Because I love the fact that you're talking about patterns. We all have them. We all are aware of some of them we are not. And I think when we start doing the work, we are mostly detecting the patterns. I think that is like what the work is before even, trying to change anything.
Yes.
You are actually looking for the patterns and understanding what makes you tick, as we say, or why you're triggered in a certain way. And afterwards, once you know that, then you can find possibly ways of changing it or dealing with it in a different way. And I think that's where emotional intelligence comes into play as well, especially you talked about corporate, and there are industries where soft skills are absolutely non-existent in the training of becoming whatever you're going to become as a professional, because yes, many times it sort of is it's common sense, and we know what common sense is. Like, if it's not common practice, it's not common sense. And that's what we keep saying. Absolutely. So the thing is that a lot of times we consider emotional intelligence as something that is given and nobody needs to be trained on it. And then we end up having professionals that are well educated, they're in very high positions, and they're struggling with just that.
Yes.
And you start considering asking, how can this be? Yeah. And that's where positive intelligence can help a lot, because it's almost, to me, I mean, you said it beautifully, but to me it's like a shortcut to grasping positive intelligence, emotional intelligence, and understanding how you show up and why in your environments, professional or personal.
Yeah, definitely. And interesting you're saying about emotional intelligence, because also you get quite a lot of pushback. Well, why is it? Again, because the analytical brain kicks in. Why is that important? Why do I need that? As long as I can do the job, why do I need that? How's that going to help me? Well, here's the thing, we're human beings and we connect with each other. And if we have no emotional intelligence, how do we do that? We don't do that by just throwing down orders at people. Well, some people do that, but how effective is that? How are you going to build a team and build relationships on that? You're not. You have to have that non-analytical ability. You need to be able to tap into that in order to, one, have any sense of who you are as a human being and how you're showing up, much less how that impacts others and how you get all of those moving parts of others to fit together. Because I know, in any management or leadership role, it's often the hardest or the most challenging part of the job, the role, is the people management part. It's dealing with the different personalities. It's how do I get all these personalities to blend, to work together, to, and then if you don't have that emotional intelligence, if you can't access that for yourself, how are you going to bring this together? So this is not a nice to do skill or a nice bit of learning for the rest of the team. This is leadership down and everybody else up and everything in between. Everybody needs to have access to this. And I just thinking about, how the saboteurs can impact your ability to access your emotional intelligence. And I'd written down a couple of things. I was just like, like if you think about the controller doesn't want to have patience with people. Like the controller needs
Why
to get.
are you saying that?
Not pointing any fingers. Was not pointing fingers. But the controller just needs to get stuff done. So it pushes to fix the issue. Right? That's what the controller does. It takes over. I must fix this. Which when you think about it, so that's not giving team members a space to grow, to explore, to find out what they're capable of, what they're not, etc. So that's just one. Then I was thinking about, the hyper rational, disconnects from emotions altogether because it's just frazzled on what. You'll have somebody who is perhaps a pleaser. Well, the pleaser, has emotions. I mean, so the pleaser naturally is connected, but that can be so much so that it takes away from the work that needs to be done, right? So it's understanding how the different saboteurs can be sabotaging your ability to express the emotional intelligence that is already in you. So all of that training on emotional intelligence that companies invest in is fantastic training. However, until that underpinning work is done, where we've got the saboteurs under control, it's only going to hit so much, or it'll hit for a moment and then it'll be forgotten, right? Or it won't feel accessible.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like it's easy to just, and I remember even when in my own corporate days, or when I was like in companies that they were like very big in training and stuff, and you could see the resistance in when it came to things like that, because it doesn't like necessarily has to do with the ability to do, as you said, the job. So, I mean, that's just a nuisance or something that now one more thing that they are asking me to do, which I don't particularly want to do, and something that's going to take a bit more of my brain power, in the day, and so on and so forth. So it creates that, like, I really can't be bothered. And I remember even, like there are companies that they do like change management, just because there is so much resistance to that. And change is like, in a way, that the ability to change, the ability to adopt is part of the emotional intelligence in many respects. And when I first came across this, I was like, what kind of trainings? Why would they invest in doing such training? And then it dawned on me, because there are so many people that they just don't understand the importance of this, and how it affects the way they show up in the business. And any business, especially corporate, to invest big money on training for, they understand very well how this is going to impact their own bottom line, basically.
100%. If you think about any business is basically made up of people. Now, if those people do not have the ability or are not given the tools and the resources to work effectively together, what do you think the outcome is going to be? Why do we think that there are, and even when you think about it from a wellness perspective in the workplace, why do people go into burnout? Because They've got a narrative, a pattern that is running, push, push, drive, drive, whichever one of the saboteurs that will fit under, that is driving them down that road. And without them having some sort of resource that allows them to stop and reset and check, they'll just keep on going down that road and they'll keep on burning out. So, getting that sense of emotional intelligence is absolutely vital. And the fastest route to it is through positive intelligence. That, I'm not saying it's the only route, but it is the fastest route, because you're not just then tapping into emotional intelligence, you're breaking the patterns that are stopping you from accessing it in the first place. And I know I've probably said that about 3 times now, but I want to reinforce that, because that's what you want to be doing. And I think that, I'd like to think that more companies now are understanding, as long as we're here, as long as we're human beings, and I think most of us are, we need to know how to connect effectively with each other. And that is emotional. It's not, there's no analyzing with that. Or you may have a system of analyzing, but I mean, generally speaking, it is a heart to heart. It's a much more felt process than it is analytical.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is that because it is, as you said, a connection between humans, and the humans are in all sorts of businesses and stuff, no matter what the business is, even if it is very practical, even it is, especially like if it's sales, when we think of sales, we might think of sales roles, but like we all sell all day long, basically, no matter what we do in life. And that's the best way to start connecting and understanding the other person as well, because not just about understanding you, but like if you do, and I have seen that, and I'm sure you have too, if you do the work with positive intelligence, the reason why you can connect so nicely with others is because you can become way more empathetic. You can become way more curious. And the more curious you are, the more, in a good way, right? Not like the curious kill the cat kind of thing. You are more curious to understand the other person, what makes them work or not work, and how you can help them and how you can develop them. And that is like if you are in a leadership role, for example, or like in a family environment, like why the child is acting a specific way, what do they need, like you're creating like more space for like abilities, like more proper listening skills, for example, and things like that. So I completely agree with you. And that positive intelligence is the foundation for any kind of work that you want to do towards emotional intelligence. And I strongly believe that, if you think you are like quite good with emotional intelligence, having like doing the work with positive intelligence probably is going to enhance this even more. And if you're not, then you won't have to work so hard on it either. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you won't have to work so hard, and the work that you do will be for the good of you, because it'll be the inner work that will then impact all areas of your life for the rest of your life, if you maintain the practice, if you stay committed to it, if you keep on doing those things. And it's interesting, I had a conversation with someone the other day, and she said to me, she said, "Oh my gosh, sort of having to do something for the rest of my life." I said, "No, but you won't be thinking about it. When you learned to drive a car, right, everything was bit by bit and you had to really focus. And then when you jump in your car now, do you think about it?" She's like, "No." I said, "So what? So you wouldn't have to be thinking about this anymore, because you'll have developed the neural pathways. Most of that behavior will naturally kick in. And when it doesn't, when you still go back to the old patterns, you will pick it up really quickly and realize, oh, no, this is not where I want to be. I need to be over there." And you will make that shift. And that for me is like the most joyful thing. I found yesterday my judge was doing a little rampant dance in my head, and I just thought, oh, there goes the judge. You are not coming out to play today. Back in your corner, right? So, but it's that ability. I didn't have the ability to do that, certainly not with that level of speed before positive intelligence. I would probably catch myself at some point, but it would be a bit more, it'd be a bit further down the line, and then think, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Whereas now it's that much quicker, which also means, when we talk about emotional intelligence and connecting with people, imagine the blessing and the joy of being in a situation with somebody. You go straight into your natural pattern of reacting, and you're on it, and then you suddenly within seconds think, no, this is not helping, and you pull yourself back and you shift into another gear, which is far more helpful. And be able to do it and be able to apologize to the person if you need to, and all of the stuff that goes with that helps to deepen trust, connection, and really build relationships that matter. And that's with self and with others. And if you
Absolutely.
had a team of people who are operating in that way, imagine the power of that. Imagine what is possible in a team that can operate in that way. Wow.
And I think that's the, like, it's the fascinating part, because I mean, we know we cannot really control what other people do or think, but in a way, with the tools of positive intelligence, you can. Not because you're controlling them, but because you can control yourself, and by doing that, you are like shifting the situation, you're changing the situation. And like, until I actually saw it real life for myself, I could not believe it. But truly, like, there is so much mirroring going on in connections, in contacts, that if you are working from a really good state yourself, there is no way the other person is not going to shift to the better. It might not be 100%, might not be like, like
It might
from
only be 5%.
yeah, but I mean, imagine that.
Yes,
Imagine that. And like that, like when you are a leader in a team, how you can actually um, create a very different environment for people to come and show up, and you hold space for them in such a way that they cannot but be better versions of themselves. So, the power of this is unbelievable. And I love what you said about the car. I think I'm going to use that, because I have also, clients that they are like, oh my God, I cannot possibly do this for the rest. But I mean, what does it mean, do this for the rest of your life? The growth is always going to be there. We reach a plateau and we move out again from our comfort zone. What do we do? How do we grow? And
absolutely.
when do we stop growing? Never. So
Yeah.
it's an amazing metaphor what you did there, Rebecca. I love that.
It's such, because I think it's because people can really understand that, not because everybody drives, because not everybody does, but most people drive, or they've been in the car and they understand that everything is just this bit, and then bits start to come together, and then the whole thing comes together, and then actually you're just doing it and you're not having to think about it, because it's just your most
Exactly.
natural way of behaving. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. And when you were talking there, Evie, and about, that the power of that mirroring, that's how we influence. That's how we influence. So if as a leader you can be in your best possible state, and you can tap into your emotional intelligence, and you can show compassion, and you can be empathetic, and you can listen, how does that knock-on effect that has is that you may get somebody who is adamant that they couldn't care less about Bob, Bill, and Jack, that suddenly it's like, oh, well, maybe I care a little bit. I care a little bit enough to listen a little bit more than I did before. And it's those little shifts. That's what we want. It's just, don't worry about the leap. Do the little shifts, do the little shifts. And if the way that you're being is influencing that happening, then, as a leader, fantastic. What a great job. What a great job.
Absolutely.
What a great job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Um, So yeah, for me, I guess what I would finish on is just that even if you're looking at emotional intelligence and you see all these competencies and you're just like blown away, like, how am I ever going to be great at all of these things? Understand that actually the most important thing is to move the roadblocks, move the things that are stopping you from accessing it in the first place. It is innate. It is innate. So when you're doing things like training on emotional intelligence, we're learning how to bring it out. We're learning how to really kind of implement it in a way that is tangible, if you like, because again, people think that these things are intangible. You can't really touch and hold them and feel them. You absolutely can feel them if the emotional intelligence is right, is good, if it is inviting, if it influences you, if it impacts you in a great way, of course you feel it, just like you do if it's not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with you on this one. And I think that if we take away the sense of difficulty from anything, it is more likely for all of us to like adopt a behavior, to adopt a habit, to move to a state where serves us more.
Yes.
And I think the more we have the understanding of like that there are things that we can do that can serve us more, we will tend naturally to go towards that direction. It's, it is normal that we prefer to be in a good state than not, I
Yes.
expect.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I doubt very much there are many people, if any, but certainly not many, who love being in a bad state. But sometimes when you're in a bad state, you don't know how to get out of it. That's the point, is you don't know how to get out of it. And it's your default. It's this place that you just keep on going to. So of course you've just got this pathway that just keeps on taking you. Go there, go there. This is how you deal with that. You get angry. You retreat into yourself. Whatever that thing is, and you just keep doing it. And really the beauty of accessing emotional intelligence by breaking through and breaking out of those patterns using PQ is that you start to do those things less and you start doing much more of the things that are helpful for both you and the people that you're connected to and communicating with. And I would think that the vast majority, if not all of us, want to have better, more meaningful relationships in work, outside of work, wherever we are. And this can really help kind of fast track you there. And that's why, again, we talk about this a lot, Evie, but this is why we have decided to build this community and use positive intelligence as a central piece. Because if we can help the women that we work with make those shifts, we know the quality that will bring to their lives. We know the difference that it will make to their working lives, to their home lives, just for themselves, for peace of mind, all of that. And that's what we're here to do. That's what it's all about.
yep, that's
Well,
what it is all about.
yes, fantastic. So if you've been listening and you're whatever you're thinking, actually, we're always happy to hear, always encouraging people to drop things in the comment, whether you think the same, differently, have a different take, share it, because this is how we learn and expand. This is the beauty of this. If, on the other hand, you are like, oh, I love the sound of that, and maybe that's something I know I need to work on, or I'd love to work on, then I would just encourage you to either sign up for our next event, which is next Tuesday. Is that right, Evie? I think.
Yes, indeed.
I will post the link under the video in due course. And, do the assessment, bring it along, find out a little bit about, one of your saboteurs, one of your leading saboteurs, if you like, get a little bit more detail on that. And then, if that kind of stirs something in you, you then have the opportunity to come and join our community and do some life-changing work. And it is life-changing work. It absolutely is.
100%.
Fantastic.
Thank
Awesome.
you, Dawn.
Thank you, Evie, and thank you to those who have tuned in, and to anyone who watches it on replay. So even in a tired state, we love us. We love what we do so much. We can still talk for over half an hour about it. Doesn't really matter. We still get it done. So thank you for sticking with us if you have, and I hope that you get something from this conversation. And Evie, I look forward to seeing you next week. And we have a guest with us next week.
Yes, we do.
Have a lovely
Looking forward to that one.
Okay. Watch out for that. Take care.
Bye.